It's over for you.
I know that. Whatever you think's over for me was over a long time ago.
Come on. Turn the car around!
We're not turning around, he's gone!
What do you mean he's gone? He's my brother!
That looks good. Is this man your friend?
Tell me where your brother is.
He's going south, a long way from here. I'll take you to him, I promise.
Your brother left you to die. He's abandoned you out here to me. You don't learn to fight, your death's gonna come real soon. You never stop thinking about a life you've taken. What's the price you pay for taking it?
I'm still in control here.
What's he doing?
He ain't giving up.
Stop talking to me!
What are things to get worked up about in this day and age?
There's no harm God won't see me come to.
God feels nothing for you. The only thing that means anything right now is that I'm here. And he's not.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. I am the Ink Northerner, and today, as you've seen from the opening, we have yet another Gamers film review. This is the 2014 Australian-American film The Rover. It was a film that was requested by one of the people who subscribed to my channel, the Gameroom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the guy's channel in the description. Please go over and check out his channel. It's a great little gaming channel. So yeah, let's delve into this a bit. So The Rover, as I say, is an Australian set film. I'm pretty sure it's part funded by the US, from a US element. It's set in a dystopian world, post-economic collapse. It's written and directed by David Michaud, who put this together. I'm pretty sure this is he's put together based on a story that him and Joel Edgerton wrote. Now, Joel Edgerton, from memory, was in Clash of the Titans. He was also in the Suicide Squad, I believe, as Captain Boomerang. I may have the wrong actor there, so don't quote me on that. Michaud himself has 12 director credits on IMDb. I'm going to take a lot of the acting and the directing credits from IMDb. It's the best source of you know, for me at least, it's the best source of having a you know, a centralized area to look at these kind of things. 4 of the films that he's credited with are feature films. So there's the 2010 Animal Kingdom, which was his directorial debut. He then did The Rover, which is the titular film of this. It's 2017's War Machine and 2019's The Killing. So it's not a big repertoire of films, but you know, I probably will go and have a look at some of his other stuff. But yeah, not a massive repertoire. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll do quick cut and we'll go on to the synopsis. So yeah, a very brief synopsis of the film. The film itself is set 10 years after a global economic collapse. that's sent the world spiralling, has caused the Australian outback, which is where the film is set, I believe. I'm pretty sure, given the settings, it is the outback. That has become a lawless place. So it starts off as a gang of three guys in a car who have tried to rob somewhere, and the robbery's gone wrong. They've left behind what you find out is one of the guy's brothers. It's an injured member of the group. They think he's dead. They begin to argue amongst themselves. It gets a bit physical. One of the guys from the front starts laying into one of the guys in the back. This causes the truck that they're in to crash. They eventually abandon this truck because they can't get it free, and they then steal a car belonging to Guy Pearce's character, who is called Eric. So Eric sees that they've stolen his car. All the while, you don't hear any of the the crash and the bang, because Eric's gone into this bar, it looks like, or what would be a bar, and there's a lot of loud music playing, very, very Chinese Mandarin type music. Once Eric realises that they've stolen his car, he frees their truck and begins to follow them down the road, down the outback, down the road that they've gone. This leads to a brief chase and the start of a fight, and Eric is knocked out. Somebody hits him in the back of the head with a shotgun, and then that leads to a whole sort of cat and mouse thing where Eric's trying to get his car back. Throughout this, Pattinson's character wakes up. He's not actually dead. He's the brother. He then eventually meets up with Guy Pearce's character, recognizing that he's in the truck, and this begins sort of, I don't want to call it a bromance, but the relationship between Pearce's character and Pattinson's character, which starts off as quite they're quite polar opposites, and then they eventually start to gain respect for each other. All in all, this eventually builds to Eric finding out where Pattinson's brother is and trying to get his car back. What you don't see, and what I'm not going to spoil, is it builds to the end, and it eventually shows you the reasoning behind him wanting to get his car back, and it becomes a very, very sentimental reason. So yeah, that was a brief synopsis. I'm going to go over the cast now, and what their films are, and then and we'll carry on from there. So yeah, let's move on to the cast. Now, I'm not going to go through the entirety of the cast. I'm going to pick up on the three gang members and obviously the two main characters in the film. So first up, we have an actor called Tawanda Manimo. It would be good if I could remember the name of these characters, to be fair. Let me consult the oracle that is IMDb and get the name of the characters. Apologies, not very professional as a review, but so Tawanda Manimo plays the character called Caleb. Manimo has 22 acting credits to his name according to IMDb. The biggest of these are probably Ghost in the Shell and The Meg alongside Jason Statham. He also has had a key role in the Netflix series The New Adventures of Monkey, The New Legends of Monkey, where he plays Gorm, and there are also 3 films set to be released as well from him. Next up, we have David Field, who plays Archie. Field has 96 credits to his name, including what seems to be a series of TV movies centered around one character. The series is called Blackjack, and then there's several sort of tail ends onto that. The character's called Terry Kavanagh. He was also randomly in the sequel to The In-Betweeners, so The In-Betweeners 2, but arguably his biggest role recently has been as Archangel in the Amazon TV series Preacher. We then have Scott McNairy, who plays Henry, who is Robert Pattinson's character's brother. McNairy is credited with 81 acting roles. a lot of his more recent ones seem to come from TV series such as True Detective and Narcos Mexico. True Detective, I think, is on Amazon, and Narcos Mexico is a Netflix production, I believe. He also has a starring role in Tarantino's latest film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That is probably his biggest recognised film. So that's the three gang members. We're now going to move on to arguably the two biggest stars in the film. First up, we've got Robert Pattinson. So Pattinson has 38 acting credits to his name, most famous of which is from a series of films where he plays a glow-in-the-dark vampire. Oh, sorry, a sparkling vampire, for fuck's sake. You know, that's the Twilight series. I absolutely hate the Twilight series. There's no redeeming factors from them, in my opinion. You know, I find them really bad films, and that's just me, but they were massively successful, so you can't argue with that. He also starred in another massively successful series of films, although he only played a small role in one of the films, and that would have been his role of Cedric Diggory in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. He had a role in Tenet as well, which is a David Fincher film, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's Fincher. I can't remember whether it's him or Nolan, to be fair. And he is also set to star in the Matt Reeves directed The Batman as Bruce Wayne stroke the Batman. Finally, we then have Guy Pearce. Now, Pearce has 82 acting credits to his name, according to, again, from IMDb. His start actually came as a soap opera actor. Now, he had a 3-year stint in Neighbours, which I was not aware of him being in Neighbours. But he also had a year-long stint in Home and Away. So his 3-year stint in Neighbours was 86 to 89. So admittedly, I was 3 in 86 and 6 in 89. So that's probably why I don't really remember. And then his year stint in Home and Away was 91 to 92. It was pretty big in the UK from memory then as well. I think Neighbours was the BBC and Home and Away was the ITV equivalent of it. Or not equivalent, but when they were broadcast in the UK is what I mean. Now I think both of them are on Channel 5 now as well. Pearce's first big film break for me would have come in the cult classic Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. It has a longer title than that, I just can't remember what it's something like The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, in 94, before he eventually moved to Hollywood, getting his first acting break in Hollywood, his first big acting break in Hollywood in the fantastic 1997 film LA Confidential. He also starred in Rules of Engagement with Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson, and Memento, which is what you would say is arguably Christopher Nolan's introduction into Hollywood directing. He is also Pearce is also the main antagonist in the third iteration of the Iron Man series. He plays Aldrich Killian in Iron Man. So that's a brief look at the cast. What we're going to do now is get onto the production before I come back and give my final thoughts of the film. So, production of this film. I have gone Australian as well. Not that Foster's has ever seen Australia in its life, but I'm having a Foster's whilst filming this. So yeah, on to the production. So as I mentioned at the start, the screenplay for this film was developed from a story that was written by Michaud and Joe Edgerton. The setting and the plot seemingly garners a lot of comparisons with Mad Max, due to the setting mainly, and the fact that you've got cars in the Australian outback, I think. But for me, I would argue that the Rover is more tangibly realistic than Mad Max was. The film itself, despite me only going over a limited number of the cast, it has a very large, geographically diverse cast. You've got Pearce, who's being Australian, Pattinson and his brother American, Manimo is Zimbabwean. You then also have some other tertiary characters who are sort of Mandarin and Cambodian. I think what this was to do was to give the film a wider appeal outside of its outside of the Australian area. that is just my opinion on why there is such a diverse cast. The film itself began shooting in January 2013 and carried on for around a 7-week period. What I will say, and you can see from the film itself, is it must have been horrendous for those actors to be filming in the Australian outback in the heat that is there. I had a quick look, and you can see that they're sweating buckets, but I had a quick look at the average maximum temperatures in the Australian outback at that time, and they're topping sort of 35 degrees Celsius on average, and sometimes they can hit 40-45 degrees Celsius. So it must have been horrendous for them to film in those temperatures. That's really all I could find about the production of the film. So it's not a big film, so I can't really give massive amounts about it. It's not a massive hit, but what we'll do is I'll drop off now. I'll come back with some facts about the film and my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up. So yeah, let's start with some facts about the film. Now I've pulled these from the trivia section of IMDb. So again, these are all of this is subject to those being correct. If it was a bigger film that I could have picked a book up about or something along those lines, I'd have gone out my way and found a book. The making of it didn't really give me much information either. It's one of the special features on the DVD. So the facts. So Michaud is quoted as saying that the character of Eric was actually written for Guy Pearce, which you can see from the film it definitely is. I'm not entirely sure what would have happened if he couldn't have got Guy Pearce to play the character. He is also quoted as saying that Pattinson's character takes specific inspiration from a 2011 documentary called Bully. Now when I first read this, I thought that they may have had it incorrect, and it was from the 2001 Larry Clark film Bully, but it actually is a documentary in its own right. It was directed by Lee Hirsch, and as part of that, Michaud told Pattinson to watch the film and take his inspiration from that. So despite Pearce's character being credited as being called Eric, there isn't anybody in the film who addresses him as Eric, and he doesn't actually say he is called that. It's just in the end credits you're given his name. And the final fact is that the title of the film is actually a nod. Now I didn't take this from IMDb, but I think it's probably in there as well. But the title of the film for me is a nod to the drive and impetus that his character has to get his car back. I'm not going to spoil the ending of the film, but you can see why he's going for it. It has very, very big sentimental values. So what do I think about the film as a whole? So the film in itself is a very watchable film. It does have some strange elements though, in my opinion. There are times throughout the film that music kicks in when it really shouldn't be there. It seems very strange that it's there. I can only think that it's a conscious decision on the director's part. There's a scene where Pattinson's character's in the truck and he starts singing along to a Kerry Hilson, I think she's called, for her song, and it seems very out of place with the rest of the film. Now Michaud himself is credited. This is why I can only assume that the rest of them are sort of chosen options, but in this instance that it's Michaud who said that he used that to highlight that normality is not too far removed. There was a time where we did have a normal society, I think is but I just personally don't think it fits with the film, and I'm not sure if there would have been a song that you could have played that would have made it fit. It just breaks the film at a time when it didn't need breaking for me. The film starts off with Guy Pearce's character being really sort of angry and withdrawn and sullen, sort of guy you wouldn't approach and talk to, which to me makes the film. There's a scene where he goes to get a gun and it's just amazing. The whole scene of him getting the gun, I really liked it. There's a bit of it that made me piss myself laughing as well. Well, giggled at least. but throughout the film he gets less and less angry and less driven and seems to mellow, and that really changes the tone of the film for me. As for Patterson, I personally didn't like his portrayal of the character, and that isn't a heart to him playing the glow-in-the-dark vampire or anything. It just, for me, he doesn't seem to fit that role. Now, Pattinson is quoted as saying that he realised he had to take these films on, otherwise he was going to end up typecast into kind of the role of the heartthrob, you know, the glow-in-the-dark vampire, if you will. All in all, though, I would encourage people to watch this film without looking, you know, too much into it. What I've done here isn't going to give away too much of the film. Hopefully, the film itself is watchable, and whilst I don't think it's a masterpiece of cinema, it does work well as a standalone film. You can see the experience of Pattinson, of Pierce as the actor throughout the film, as an actor throughout the film. So much so over and above Pattinson. In other words, to summarise it up in one sentence, I would say it's an okay film, but brings nothing really new to the post-apocalyptic stroke dystopian genre, in my opinion. And that's basically it. That is the end of my brief review. Hopefully it hits the nail on the head as far as the game room is concerned. I'm glad that you pointed this film out to me, because it wouldn't have been a film that I would have looked at. I wouldn't, unless it came on a streaming series and I happened to stumble across it. But yeah, all that is left for me to do is thank you for watching. I have been the Ink Northerner, and I will catch you on the next one.